The most dangerous animal in these waters has no bones. It has no blood. It has no brain at all. And yet, it can stop your heart in the time it takes to wade back to shore. You will probably never see it coming. Its body is almost perfectly clear, a pale box of jelly drifting just under the surface, nearly invisible against the sea. Trailing behind it are long, thin tentacles, and along every one of those tentacles sit millions of tiny, loaded weapons, each one ready to fire the instant it touches your skin. But here's the part that turns this from frightening to genuinely strange. This brainless blob of jelly can see. It has 24 eyes. Some of them are simple, just light detectors. But others are real eyes, with lenses built almost like yours and mine, capable of forming an actual image of the world. An animal with no brain has somehow grown a set of cameras and learned to use them. We call it the box jellyfish. It is one of the most venomous animals in the ocean, one of the few jellyfish that actively hunts and swims with purpose, and one of the strangest creatures alive. So let me show you what a box jellyfish really is, because almost nothing about it works the way you would expect. Start with the body, because even the shape is a clue. Most jellyfish you picture are round, like a floating umbrella. The box jellyfish is different. Its bell is shaped like a cube, with 4 flat sides, which is exactly where the name comes from. The most infamous species lives in the warm coastal waters of northern Australia and across the wider Indo-Pacific. Its bell can grow to about the size of a basketball, up to roughly 30 centimeters across. From each of the 4 lower corners hangs a bundle of tentacles, up to 15 on each corner, and those tentacles can stretch out as long as 3 meters behind the animal. And it is almost completely transparent, a pale, glassy blue, nearly impossible to spot in the water until it is far too close. People who have been stung often say they never saw a thing, they just felt it. Here is some context that makes the whole story stranger. Jellyfish are ancient. Their kind has been drifting through the oceans for something like 500 million years, longer than there have been trees, longer than there have been backbones, and far longer than there have been brains of any kind. The box jellyfish belongs to this old, brainless branch of life. So when you look at one, you are not seeing a simple creature that just failed to grow a brain. You are seeing a body plan that has hunted and thrived for 500 million years without ever needing one. That is not a flaw. It is a completely different answer to the problem of being alive, and it has worked for an unimaginably long time. So let us talk about what happens if you do. The box jellyfish carries one of the most powerful venoms in the entire ocean. I want to be careful and honest here, because you will often hear it called the most venomous animal on Earth, full stop. The truth is that scientists argue about that title, and a few other creatures are also in the running. So the fair way to say it is this. The box jellyfish is among the most venomous animals in the sea, and a serious sting can kill a healthy adult within minutes. What makes the venom so deadly is what it attacks. It goes after 3 things at once: the skin, causing searing pain and deep welts, the nervous system, and worst of all, the heart. The venom can throw the heart into chaos and bring it to a sudden stop. Cardiac arrest, in a matter of minutes, sometimes before the victim can even make it out of the water. Children are in the most danger of all, because they are smaller, so the same dose of venom hits them far harder than it would an adult. What the venom actually does, at the smallest scale, is punch holes. It carries proteins that drill tiny pores into cells, including the cells of the heart. Once those holes open, the cell can no longer control what flows in and out of it, and it starts to fail. Open enough holes in enough heart cells fast enough, and the heart loses its rhythm and stops. That is the cold mechanism behind the headline. The venom does not so much poison the heart as tear its cells open from the outside. So how does a soft, brainless animal deliver a venom that fast? The answer is in those tentacles, and it is a marvel of biological engineering. Each tentacle is lined with millions of microscopic stinging capsules. Inside each one is a coiled, harpoon-like thread, wound up under enormous pressure, waiting. When something brushes the tentacle, the capsule fires. It shoots that tiny harpoon outward, punching through the surface of the prey or the skin of an unlucky swimmer, and injects venom directly inside. And this happens incredibly fast. The firing of these stinging cells is one of the quickest movements known in all of biology. Far too fast for the eye to follow. To give you a sense of it, the discharge involves one of the highest accelerations ever measured anywhere in nature. The little harpoon goes from completely still to fully fired in a matter of microseconds, driven by pressure stored inside the capsule like a spring crushed to its breaking point. A single tentacle grazing your arm can set off thousands of them at once, each a separate injection. That is why a bad sting puts so much venom into the body so quickly. It is not one bite. It is thousands of microscopic needles firing together. Here is a detail that surprises people. The jellyfish does not decide to sting you. It has no brain to make that decision. The stinging cells fire on their own, triggered by a combination of touch and a chemical signal from skin. Plain seawater will not set them off. But the chemistry on the surface of a fish or a human arm is exactly the cue they are built to detect. So when you touch a tentacle, you are not being attacked by a thinking creature. You are tripping millions of tiny automatic triggers all at once. Which brings us to the real mystery of this animal, the eyes. A box jellyfish has 24 eyes. Not 2. Not a simple light-sensing patch like other jellyfish. 24. They are arranged in 4 clusters. 1 cluster hanging on each of the 4 sides of the bell. Each cluster holds 6 eyes, and here is where it gets strange. Those 6 eyes are not all the same. 4 of them are simple, little pits and slits that just sense light and shadow. But the other 2 are different. They are true lens eyes, real camera-type eyes, each with a lens, a structure like a cornea, and a retina, the same basic parts your own eye has. One of them even has a pupil that can adjust to changing light. Read that again. A creature with no brain has grown, working camera eyes, and they are aimed deliberately. One of the lens eyes in each cluster points permanently upward, toward the surface of the water, watching the world above, through the bright circular window that light makes when it enters the sea. The other points down and outward, watching for obstacles in its path. This animal is not just floating along blind. It is looking up at the sky and out at the world around it, all the time. If your brain is already starting to short-circuit at the idea of eyes without a brain, you are in exactly the right place. Subscribe, because every week we go into worlds almost no one looks at twice. And the box jellyfish is about to get even harder to believe. Because here is the question that should be bothering you. If it has no brain, what is looking at the pictures? When light hits the retina in one of your eyes, the signal travels to your brain, which assembles it into the image you see. The box jellyfish has no brain to send those signals to. So how does it use eyes at all? The answer is that the box jellyfish does not centralize its thinking the way we do. It spreads it out. Each of those 4 eye clusters is not just a bundle of eyes. It is a small processing center in its own right, handling the visual information from its 6 eyes right there on the spot. And the 4 clusters are linked together by a ring of nerves that runs around the base of the bell, tying the whole system into one. So instead of one brain doing all the work, the box jellyfish has 4 little visual processors talking to each other through a nerve ring. The behavior of the whole animal comes out of that conversation. There is no command center. There is no single place where the box jellyfish becomes aware, and yet it behaves as if there is. Those clusters do more than see, too. Each one also carries a tiny weighted crystal that works like a built-in level, telling the animal which way is up in the water. So every cluster is a small package of senses, sight, and balance bundled together, hanging off a corner of the bell. The box jellyfish is, in a strange way, an animal assembled from several little sensing units working as a team, with no single boss in charge of any of them. And it does not just drift, which is the next thing that sets it apart. Most jellyfish are passive. They float wherever the current takes them, pulsing weakly at the mercy of the water. The box jellyfish swims. It can move at a real pace, around 1.5 to 2 meters per second when it pushes, and it can turn sharply and deliberately. Researchers have watched box jellyfish use those lens eyes to steer around obstacles, like the tangled roots of mangrove trees, actively avoiding collisions instead of bumping into them blindly. They use the upward eye to read the canopy of trees above the water and navigate toward the shallow lagoons where their food lives. This is not a drifting bag of poison. It is a hunter that watches where it is going. And it really is a hunter. Most jellyfish eat whatever happens to bump into their tentacles by chance. The box jellyfish goes looking. It actively chases down small fish and shrimp, which is unusual, and a little unsettling for a jellyfish, because fish are quick and alert. To catch them, it needs its speed and its eyes working together, swimming after prey and steering to cut it off. That ferocious venom makes more sense once you know this. It is not only for defense. It is a tool for killing fast, agile prey instantly, before they can thrash free and rip those delicate tentacles apart. Now, you might wonder why an animal with no brain ever needed eyes this good in the first place. That is still a question scientists are working on. The best idea is that vision helps it find its hunting grounds and avoid swimming into things that could tear its delicate body apart. Because for all its deadly venom, the box jellyfish itself is fragile. Its body is mostly water, soft and easily damaged. It cannot survive long out of the sea. The most dangerous animal in the bay is also one of the most delicate, a thin membrane of jelly carrying a weapon far deadlier than its own flimsy body. So what does all this mean for you, if you ever swim in its waters? Let me give you the honest, practical truth, because there is a lot of bad advice out there. In northern Australia, the most dangerous months are the warm ones, roughly November through to April or May, a period locals simply call stinger season. During that time, many beaches are netted or closed, and people swim in protective suits. If someone is stung, the correct first aid is vinegar. Plain household vinegar, poured over the tentacles, stops any stinging capsules that have not yet fired from going off. But be clear about what vinegar does and does not do. It does not take away the pain, and it does not undo the venom that is already in the body. It only keeps things from getting worse. And please forget the old myth about urinating on a sting. That does not help, and it can actually make undischarged stinging cells fire, which is the opposite of what you want. There is also an anti-venom for the box jellyfish, developed decades ago, though scientists still debate how well it actually works. So the honest message is simple. This is not a sting you treat casually. It is a medical emergency, and speed matters more than any folk remedy. There is one more member of this family worth knowing about, because it shows how strange this group really is. A tiny cousin of the box jellyfish, no bigger than your thumbnail, causes something called Irukandji syndrome. Its sting can feel like almost nothing at first. Then, 20 or 30 minutes later, it hits. Waves of crushing pain, cramps, vomiting, a pounding heart, and a strange, well-documented feeling of impending doom. A creature smaller than a grape, delivering a delayed crisis that can land a grown adult in the hospital. The box jellyfish family did not get famous by being large. It got famous by being efficient. This is also exactly why scientists are so fascinated by these animals, and not only because of the danger. An animal that builds camera eyes and navigates with purpose, all without a brain, is a living puzzle about how vision and behavior can work. If you can see and steer and hunt using only a ring of nerves and a few small processing centers, then a brain is not the only way to make sense of the world. Studying the box, jellyfish forces us to rethink what we assume about eyes, nerves, and intelligence. And its venom, one of the fastest acting in the sea, is studied closely too, both to build better treatments and to understand exactly how it stops a heart so quickly. Every answer it gives up tends to raise a harder question. How does it decide where to swim, with no brain to decide anything? How do 4 small clusters of nerves agree on a direction? We are still working on it, and the animal is not telling. So let us go back to that warm, shallow water and the pale, almost invisible box of jelly drifting through it. You know now what it really is. An animal with no brain, no bones, and no heart of its own, carrying 24 eyes, 4 of them true cameras that watch the sky and the world. A creature that does not drift but swims, that does not decide to sting but fires millions of automatic harpoons the instant you touch it, and that delivers a venom able to stop a human heart in minutes. It thinks with no brain. It sees with no mind behind the eyes. It hunts as a thin sheet of living glass. That is the real lesson of the box jellyfish. We tend to believe that doing something as complex as seeing, navigating, and hunting requires a brain like ours. This animal quietly proves that nature found another way, a way so alien to us that we are still struggling to understand it. So here is my question for you, and I would genuinely like your answer. If a creature with no brain at all can grow real eyes and use them to hunt, then what is a brain actually for? And how much of what we call seeing could happen without one? If this changed the way you think about what is swimming around you, subscribe. Every week, we go into worlds almost no one looks at twice, and the next time you are standing in warm, calm, shallow water on a tropical coast, and everything looks completely empty and safe. Remember that the most dangerous thing in that sea might be looking right back at you, with 24 eyes and no mind at all.